So welcome back, students. This is lecture 1 of cost accounting, and this is for CMA Intermediate June 2023 attempt. Okay. So now we have finished one chapter in cost accounting so far, right? It is Introduction to Cost Accounting. So now after Introduction to Cost Accounting, okay, we'll move to Study Note 2. Okay. So Study Note 2. Okay, basically we're going to have four things. Okay, four main chapters in Study Note 2, right? So first one is material. Okay, and next is employee costs, right? So these are okay, material and employee costs. Okay, material is given by Cost Accounting Standard 6, and this is by Cost Accounting Standard 7. So as we have financial accounting standards, similarly we have cost accounting standards also. Okay. So you have a separate chapter for cost accounting standards where we are going to talk about the cost accounting standards there. Okay. So you will have an understanding of the cost accounting standards. It's not in detail for you, just need to have an understanding. Okay. So now in SN2, SN2 is the main core of your course. Okay. Main part is SN2. So here first is material or material cost, employee costs, then is direct expenses, which is a small chapter. Okay. So it will hardly take us one lecture. Okay. Or rather 1 hour, let us say 1 hour to complete direct expenses. Okay. And then overhead. Okay. So these are the four chapters. So let us say three main chapters: material, employee costs, and overhead, which we have to do. Okay. So here among material and employee costs, okay, we can start with any of these two. Okay, there is no direct relation, any of these two. But after finishing material and employee costs, only then we will move to direct expenses and overhead. Okay. So we are going to start with employee cost first. Okay. It might interest you a bit more than material. So let's start with employee costs. Fine. So this is employee costs, which is cost accounting standard 7. Right? Okay. So right. So we will start with labor cost. So labor basically, what is it? It is employee cost. Labor is nothing but cost of the employees which an organization have. The employees can be, say, laborers or someone doing unskilled work, or one's doing skilled work, or the white collar employees, office employees. Okay, right? So all these come under employee cost. Okay? All kinds of employees. Okay, it is not just only the people working in factories, they come under employee cost. It is not like that. Okay. Okay. So here, right? So now labor is one of the costliest things. Okay, material, labor, and overhead. These three are very, very important. So you have to record it properly so that you can minimize it always. Fine. Okay. So which is why first thing from a labor cost point of view is you have to compute it in a scientific manner. Okay. You have to compute it in a scientific manner. Okay. If you compute your costs and write it in a scientific manner, only then you can control it. You will know where you have spent more. If you have not written it down properly, okay, so then you will not be able to reduce it. So which is why you have to write it down in a scientific manner, in a proper organized manner. Okay, right? Only then you can compute it and control it properly, right? Fine. So now here at this stage, okay, there's one more thing that we will discuss, which is what is low productivity, what is higher productivity. Okay. So when productivity is low, okay, productivity is low, labor cost per unit is higher. Okay. And when productivity is higher, okay, labor cost per unit is lower. Okay. How does this work? Okay, let's see. And let's just take an example here. So here, let's say in a day, okay, in one day, we have production of 50 units. Okay. Let's say we have production of 50 units in one day. The labor cost for that, the amount you have, which you are paying to the laborers, it is 1000 rupees. Okay. 50 units, 1000 rupees. Okay. And so how will we calculate the productivity for it? 1000 rupees for 50 units. So how much for 1 unit? It will basically be 1000 upon 50, which will be nothing but 20. Okay. 1000 upon 50 gives you 20 rupees per unit. Okay. Is the labor cost now, 20 rupees per unit. Say now these are an efficient group of people, and instead of 100, they are able to produce, instead of 50, they are able to produce 100 units. Okay. At the same cost. Right. So now what will be the productivity? 1000 upon 100, which is 10. Correct. Now you can see that as the productivity has gone up, labor cost per unit has reduced. Okay. That's what we were trying to understand in this line. Okay. So now, next thing is we'll talk about the departments that do work related to labor accounting. Okay. So basically it's not just finding out how much the labor cost is, not just recording it, but also working on things which will reduce it or working on better ways of doing it. All these departments are basically working towards a lower labor cost. Okay. Which are the departments? Okay. Normally an organized undertaking. Which are those labor departments? Okay. Which are working towards getting a lower labor cost in organizing labor in all. The first department is called HR department. Okay, so most of you would have already heard of HR department, right? The HR department mainly deals in recruitment and induction. Recruitment and induction. This is the main work of HR department. Okay. So, and after that, they do give some initial training also, because then the main on-the-job training happens where the workers work. Okay. So, but before that, some initial training is given. Okay. So, okay, that is many times given by the HR department. So, main functions you can say recruitment and induction. Induction is when people are hired, you bring them in to teach them about the values of the organization and all that, what is expected of them. Okay. What are their rights? Okay. How much leave they're going to get. All these things are shared in induction. Okay. At the same time, if there is any insurance or anything which the company is giving them, which normally happens. So all those forms and all you sign during induction. Okay. So recruitment and induction. This is the main work of whom? The HR department. Okay. Recruitment and induction. Now there is another department called personnel department. Okay. Personnel department. So at departments where you have both HR and personnel department will work under the HR department if both are there. If HR department is not there, you can sometimes see only personnel department. The personnel department will be more like your HR department. Okay, if only personnel is there. If both are there, then HR department will have a wider scope. Okay, and personnel department will work purely into recruitment and things like that. Okay. So, and personnel will be under HR department. Okay. So personnel department will kind of report to HR department. Fine. So this is, so don't get confused if you see personnel department sometimes. Okay, if there is no HR, only personnel is given, then just put it in place of HR department. Okay, right. So this is your HR. Okay, and then so these are groups of departments. Okay, so next is industrial engineering department. Okay, in industrial engineering department, you can see, okay, one is time and motion study. This work is done here. Time and motion study is seen. Okay, I will not discuss these things now because each one is going to be discussed in detail. Okay, so we'll just see the points here, and then we will, once we go ahead, we'll discuss each of these in detail. Okay, time and motion study, work study. Okay, and then you have got work measurement. Okay, something called as work measurement, the job evaluation, and merit rating. Okay. These are the 5 things which come under industrial engineering department. Okay, as the name suggests, the industrial engineering department, okay, it will do some technical analysis. Everything related to technical analysis will be done by the industrial engineering department. As far as these 5 things individually are concerned, we'll discuss in a while. Okay, right. So then next is timekeeping and payroll. Now these are groups of departments. Okay, as I told earlier, timekeeping mostly is a separate department. Payroll is a separate department. Okay, so timekeeping does the work of time booking. Okay, time booking means finding out how much time each worker has spent in different jobs. That is called as time booking. Okay, and next is payroll. Okay, the payroll is a function of payroll department basically, not of timekeeping. So here it has just been grouped together so that you get an initial idea. Okay, fine. So these are the main groups of departments. Okay, apart from this, there is one more department which is cost accounting department. Okay, which is very main from our point of view, right? Because we are into cost accounting studies. So there's another department called as cost accounting department, and all analysis of varied nature, okay, are under that department, cost accounting department. So now for the control function, for controlling the labor cost, all these departments, okay, including your cost accounting department, okay, include cost accounting too. All these departments, okay, come together. If there is personal department, if there is, then it will also be a personal department. Okay, all these come together for control of labor cost. All these departments together. It's not the job of any one department. Okay, so in labor cost control, what do they control? They control labor turnover. Okay, they control labor turnover. Okay, overtime, right? But overtime is within limits. Labor turnover means when employees leave the organization. Okay, that phenomenon is called as turnover, labor turnover. Okay, so it has to be controlled. Overtime has to be controlled. Idle time, when the worker is getting paid, okay, but he's not working at that point of time. So that is wasteful hours, idle time, and payments by results. So this is another section which we'll study little later on. Okay, right? This talks about various calculations of various bonus methods and all that. Okay, so all these things are used for control of labor cost. How? This is what we are going to see in this chapter. So what you're seeing in this diagram, this is basically what we are going to expand in this chapter. Okay, right. So right. So here we go now. Okay. So this was your introduction kind of to labor. Okay. What are the departments which are involved and what do they do? Okay. Now we will delve little deep into it. Okay. So here, first of all, how does cost accounting standard 7 define labor cost? Okay. So first we are going to see, okay, how does cost accounting 7 define labor cost? Okay. The first thing is, so this limited revision 2017 is, there was a little bit of revision in that. That's why it is called as limited revision 2017. Okay. So now as per CAS 7, which is cost accounting 7, limited revision 2017, what is employee cost? Okay. We are seeing what is employee cost, right? So before I just go into what is employee cost, I'll just quickly give an overview of what we have done so far. Okay. The first only thing which we have done is we've just started labor, chapter labor. We've started it ahead of material. Okay. After this, we'll do material, right? So we just talked a little bit about labor cost, why it is very important to compute it and record it in a scientific manner. That is because of cost control. Okay. And then we saw the main departments which are in charge of labor cost accounting. Basically, not just accounting for labor, but anything related to labor. These are the departments. One is HR department. Sometimes you have a personal department under the HR department. If there is no HR department, personal department can be here in place of HR department. Next is, so HR department does recruitment and induction. Industrial engineering department, okay, this does all these things: time and motion study, work measurement, job evaluation, and merit rating. So each of these we are going to study in detail going forward, all this. Okay. So which is why at this stage I'm not explaining you this. Okay. So now these are basically your industrial engineering department just finds out the best ways of doing things. Then you have got timekeeping and payroll. Timekeeping is a separate department. Payroll is a separate department. Timekeeping does time booking, which is it to find out which worker has spent how much time in which job. Okay, that is called as time booking. Okay, and payroll department, it just at the end of the period, it calculates the salary of various workers. Okay, that is the job of payroll department. So these are the main departments, and add one more to it, which is our cost accounting department. Okay, so all these departments which we have listed down here, okay, HR, industrial engineering, timekeeping, payroll, and cost accounting. These are the 5 main departments, okay, which deal with labor, right? And they together, what do they do is they control labor cost. Okay, they control, how do they control? They reduce labor turnover. Labor turnover is nothing but when labor move out of the organization, leave the organization. That phenomenon is called labor turnover. So they reduce this. Again, all these things we are going to study in detail into the chapter. Okay, so this is just a quick first introduction for you. And then idle time. The idle time has to be controlled. And then you have got overtime, that also must be controlled. Okay, and then payment by results. Okay, where you give some bonus and things like that to encourage workers. All these parts of control also we are going to study. Okay, this is what we have done so far, and then we were into, okay, now first thing is definition of employee cost as per CAS 7. Okay, so definition of employee cost as per CAS 7. As per CAS 7, employee cost is the benefits paid or payable. Okay, when I'm saying benefits paid or payable, it means the salary which you are paying them or the wages which you are paying them. So employee cost is the wages or salaries, we can say, in all forms of consideration. when we say in all forms of consideration means it can be in cash, it can be in kind. Okay, can be in cash or kind. Then we are saying given for the service rendered by the employee. Okay, so what we have, how CAS 7 has defined labor cost is employee cost. Okay, it's benefit paid or payable. Okay, that is the salary paid, salary wages paid to employees. Okay, whether in cash or kind. Okay, for the service he has rendered for the organization. That's it. And last point is it includes temporary, part-time and contract employee. So labor cost is for all kinds of employees. It can be your permanent employee in your roles. It can be a contract employee or part-time employee. Everything goes into labor cost. Okay. Fine. So this is how CAS 7 defines labor cost. Now, राइट सो इसी चीज को अगर मैं हिंदी में रिपीट करूं तो यहाँ पे ये इंपॉर्टेंट है कि CAS 7 ने कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग 7 कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड, जैसे हमारे फाइनेंशियल अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स होते हैं ना, अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स AS है आपका, इंड AS है, कुछ इंडियन अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स है जो इंडिया के कंडीशन में जैसे अप्लाई होते हैं वो बताया जाता है, ठीक है। वैसे ही ये है कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड CAS। ओके, तो यहाँ एक चैप्टर हमारा है कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स का, ठीक है, वो हम करेंगे, वेरी सून विल बी डूइंग इट, राइट। सो देयर यू विल गेट अ गुड इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ इट, यू डोंट हैव टू मच डिटेल्स, जस्ट एन इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स। ओके, सो ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे क्या देखना है कि लेबर कॉस्ट को कैसे डिफाइन किया गया। यहाँ आप देख रहे हैं लिमिटेड रिवीजन 2007, ये है CAS में भी टाइम टू टाइम अमेंडमेंट्स होते हैं, दिस इज लाइक एन अमेंडमेंट। ओके, लिमिटेड रिवीजन का मतलब है कि होलसेल चेंज नहीं हुआ, बस थोड़ा कुछ मेन पॉइंट्स या कुछ पॉइंट्स चेंज हुए बस, ठीक है, वो मतलब है इसका। तो हम जो पढ़ रहे हैं वो जो चेंज्ड है वही पढ़ रहे हैं, ठीक है। अमेंडेड CAS ओनली इज व्हाट वी आर स्टडीइंग। ओके, राइट, ठीक है। तो यहाँ पे CAS 7 के तहत एम्प्लॉय कॉस्ट क्या है, बेनिफिट्स पेड और पेएबल, ठीक है, बेनिफिट्स पेड और पेएबल इन ऑल फॉर्म्स ऑफ कंसिडरेशन, यानी बेनिफिट्स पेड और पेएबल यानी क्या बोलेंगे, जो आप सैलरी वेजेस दे रहे हो, ठीक है, इन ऑल फॉर्म्स ऑफ कंसिडरेशन मींस कैश और काइंड। सो वेजेस पेड इन कैश और काइंड फॉर द सर्विस रेंडर्ड बाय द एम्प्लॉय, ठीक है, बस इतना ही बताया गया, बस दिस इज द ओनली थिंग। ओके, और एम्प्लॉय कौन से कैटेगरी का हो सकता है, इट कैन बी टेम्पररी, पार्ट टाइम और कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एम्प्लॉय, ठीक है, कुछ भी हो सकता है, सारे लेबर कॉस्ट में आएंगे। फाइन, सो चलिए, सो तो नाउ नेक्स्ट वी विल डू इज वेरियस एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ लेबर कॉस्ट कंट्रोल, ठीक है, हम कुछ चीजें देखेंगे अबाउट लेबर कॉस्ट कंट्रोल, हाउ यू कैन कंट्रोल लेबर कॉस्ट। ओके, so here we have okay steps for controlling and reducing the labor cost, ठीक है, steps for controlling and reducing the labor cost, ठीक, किस तरह से हम कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं। तो इसमें जो भी स्टेप्स है, ठीक है, कुछ सर्टेन नंबर ऑफ स्टेप्स है। फर्स्ट इज क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ लेबर कॉस्ट। तो देखिए, कोई भी चीज को से आपको, इफ योर से हाउस होल्ड एक्सपेंसेस आर इंक्रीजिंग अलॉट, मान लीजिए आपके घर के खर्चे बहुत बढ़ रहे हैं, household expenses, okay, so how will you control it? First thing is you record it, correct, कि क्या क्या मैंने खर्च किया है, 1 2 3, जब जब हो रहा है उसको आप लिखना चालू करते हैं, राइट, you start writing whatever expenses you are making. After you have a list of it, then you can find out, okay, this number 4 was not needed, this I can, this is where I spent more, अब तभी आप उसको पिन पॉइंट कर सकते हैं आफ्टर रिकॉर्डिंग इट, करेक्ट। सो फॉर कंट्रोलिंग एनी काइंड ऑफ एक्सपेंसेस, फर्स्ट स्टेप इज टू रिकॉर्ड इट प्रॉपरली। ओके, ठीक है, प्रॉपरली क्यों बोल रहा हूं मैं प्रॉपरली, इसीलिए कि अब ये आपका सपोज ये करंट मंथ, ओके, सपोज दिस इज जनवरी, ओके, फॉर फेब्रुअरी आपको यही एक्सपेंस प्रॉपरली यू हैव टू जस्ट रिकॉर्ड नेक्स्ट टू इट, ओनली देन यू कैन कंपेयर कि लास्ट टाइम आई हैड स्पेंट दिस मच, दिस टाइम आई हैव स्पेंट this much, okay। तो इसीलिए वो साइंटिफिक वर्ड आ जाता है। साइंटिफिक का मतलब ऐसा नहीं जनवरी का मैंने कहीं और रिकॉर्ड कर दिया ना, फेब्रुवरी आई एम रिकॉर्डिंग इन सम अदर बुक, मार्च इन सम अदर बुक, ओके, दैट विल नॉट वर्क, ठीक है। चलिए, तो सबसे पहले व्हाट यू हैव टू डू इज फॉर रिकॉर्डिंग, ठीक है, आपको क्लासिफाई करना है। जो व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट आवर हाउस होल्ड एक्सपेंसेस, these are very less, okay, but here the nature of expenses are too much, there are many different kinds of expenses, तो इसीलिए फर्स्ट आपको क्लासिफाई करना पड़ेगा रिकॉर्डिंग के पहले, क्लासिफाई, ग्रुप इट एंड रिकॉर्ड इट अकॉर्डिंगली, ठीक है, सो दैट मेक्स मोर सेंस, राइट। सो फर्स्ट स्टेप इज प्रॉपर क्लासिफिकेशन, ठीक है। तो क्लासिफाई हम क्या करते हैं, मेन क्लासिफिकेशन इज डायरेक्ट कॉस्ट एंड इनडायरेक्ट कॉस्ट, ठीक है, राइट। सबसे पहला हमको क्या करना चाहिए, वी शुड क्लासिफाई लेबर कॉस्ट, ठीक है। सबसे फर्स्ट थिंग व्हाट वी शुड डू इज क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ लेबर कॉस्ट, राइट। और फॉर क्लासिफिकेशन मतलब आप अलग अलग टाइप में उसको स्प्लिट करके लिख रहे हैं, ओके, सो दैट इट मेक्स मोर सेंस, क्योंकि डिफरेंट टाइप के एक्सपेंस को कंट्रोल करने के तरीके अलग अलग होते हैं, राइट, विच इज वाई यू शुड क्लासिफाई, राइट। सो यहाँ पे मेन है डायरेक्ट कॉस्ट एंड इनडायरेक्ट कॉस्ट, ठीक है। लेबर दो चीजें होती से दो तरीके से हम क्लासिफाई करते हैं, डायरेक्ट कॉस्ट एंड इनडायरेक्ट कॉस्ट, ओके। तो चलिए तब यहाँ देखते हैं कि व्हाट इज डायरेक्ट लेबर कॉस्ट, ठीक है। सो डायरेक्ट लेबर कॉस्ट जो है आपका, ओके, इट इज द कॉस्ट दैट कैन बी आइडेंटिफाइड विद अ प्रोडक्ट यूनिट, ठीक है। ऐसा कोई कॉस्ट है आपका जिसको आप, जैसे हमने इन चैप्टर 1 वी हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट व्हाट आर डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंसेस, व्हाट आर इनडायरेक्ट एक्सपेंसेस, करेक्ट, जिसमें आई टोल्ड यू दैट व्हेन वी राइट P&L, राइट, व्हेन वी राइट ट्रेडिंग एंड P&L, ठीक है, जो ट्रेडिंग अकाउंट में वट एवर कम्स, ओके, दैट इज डायरेक्ट, ओके, और P&L के सेक्शन में जो आता है वट एवर कम्स इन P&L, दैट इज इनडायरेक्ट, ठीक है। ये है मोस्ट नॉर्मल डिफरेंशिएशन जिसको लेके चला जाता है, ठीक है। तो एक मेन मेथड है of cost accounting called as absorption costing. So you will learn about absorption costing along with marginal costing. So we will start marginal costing. We're starting it today, okay, from 7:30, marginal costing. Okay, so we will end this class by 7:20 now, okay, right? So here, so absorption costing is a costing method, okay. इसमें जो है क्या होता है आपका, ट्रेडिंग अकाउंट के सारे एक्सपेंसेस आर डायरेक्ट, P&L इज इनडायरेक्ट, इस तरह से देखा जाता है। बट जनरली फ्रॉम कॉस्ट, जो कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट है, कॉन्सेप्चुअल डेफिनेशन जो है कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग का, नॉट अब्जॉर्प्शन कॉस्टिंग, कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग कॉन्सेप्चुअल डेफिनेशन के हिसाब से डायरेक्ट इज नॉट जस्ट ट्रेडिंग अकाउंट, ठीक है, यानी जो भी, so बेसिकली हम मैंने ट्रेडिंग अकाउंट में जो आता है, क्या आपका आता है एक्चुअली, मटेरियल, लेबर एंड डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंसेस, ठीक है। डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंसेस आर लाइक रॉयल्टी एंड ऑल दैट, ठीक है। तो एनी एक्सपेंस विच इज डायरेक्टली डन फॉर मटेरियल और, एंड विच इज नॉट मटेरियल और लेबर, बट इट इज डायरेक्टली डन फॉर द मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्रोसेस, वो हो जाता है आपका डायरेक्ट, ठीक है। तो ये हो गया, लेकिन जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ, बट इन एज पर प्योर कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग क्या होता है कि हाउ डायरेक्ट, क्योंकि आई एम एक्सप्लेनिंग इट टू यू बिकॉज सी यू आर गोइंग टू बी कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग स्टूडेंट्स, ठीक है, यू आर गोइंग टू बी कॉस्ट अकाउंटेंट्स, तो आपको इन डेप्थ में ये जानना जरूरी है, यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस इन डेप्थ, ओके। so which is why, so here, so as per the core definition, डायरेक्ट का मतलब जो है ना, डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस, इट इज नॉट जस्ट ट्रेनिंग, ओके। जो हमारा डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस है ना, ये नहीं है, P&L का भी कुछ पार्ट है, एनी पार्ट ऑफ द P&L ऑल्सो, ठीक है, यानी फैक्ट्री में ये ऑल फैक्ट्री एक्सपेंसेस कम अंडर P&L, ठीक है, फैक्ट्री एक्सपेंसेस कम अंडर P&L, ऑफिस एक्सपेंसेस कम अंडर P&L, ठीक है. सेलिंग एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कम अंडर P&L, ठीक है. सो राइट, तो इसमें से भी कुछ होते हैं. ये जो प्योर डेफिनेशन क्या देखता है, जो जो मटेरियल हमारा, जो प्रोडक्ट हम बना रहे हैं, द प्रोडक्ट विच वी आर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, ओके, any of these expenses which is directly related to the product, you can say that it has not been incurred for many products. It is actually some parts is some machine which is being used only for one product, ठीक है. एक प्रोडक्ट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के लिए हो रहा है, so then it is seen as direct to that product, ठीक है. उस चीजों, उस क्लासिफिकेशन में क्या होता है आपका, ये P&L के भी का भी कुछ आइटम्स हैं. ऑफिस और सेलिंग डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन तो आते नहीं है. इन फैक्ट्री एक्सपेंसेस देयर कैन बी सम एक्सपेंस which are incurred directly for the product, ठीक है. It's not shared with many products. It's directly for that product. In that case, it will be classified as direct, ठीक है. तो चलिए, so ये चीजें, तो ये हमने देखा. What did we see here? What did we learn here? That for absorption costing, okay, in absorption costing, which is the general method of costing, okay, यहाँ पे जो है आपका एनीथिंग विच वी शो इन ट्रेडिंग अकाउंट इज डायरेक्ट, P&L इज इनडायरेक्ट, ओके. एज पर द प्योर डेफिनेशन ऑफ कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग ऑफ डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस एंड इनडायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस, देयर इट इज नॉट डिफाइंड लाइक आप ट्रेडिंग में जो आ रहा है वो है, ऐसा नहीं है वो, ठीक है. डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंस इज समथिंग, ओके, विच इज डायरेक्टली, which can be directly found in the product or which has been directly used for that product, ठीक है. तो इसीलिए अपार्ट फ्रॉम ट्रेडिंग देयर कैन बी सम फैक्ट्री एक्सपेंसेस आल्सो व्हिच कैन बी ट्रीटेड एज डायरेक्ट, ठीक है. तो बस ये एक आपको याद रखने की जरूरत है कि ऐसा ही होता है, ठीक है. सो नाउ, so we were here. So direct labor cost is a cost that can be identified with a product unit, okay. Cost that can be identified with a product unit, ठीक है. Where you can say, okay, this unit has been manufactured by this machine and directly identified it with the product unit, then it will become direct, ठीक है. यहाँ पे भी आप, if you see, this is the pure definition as per CAS 7, ठीक है. So it is the labor cost incurred for altering the construction, composition और condition of the product, ठीक है. यानी प्रोडक्ट को जो हम मैन्युफैक्चर कर रहे हैं, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के दौरान जो चेंज हो रहा है, जो फिनिश्ड प्रोडक्ट बन रहा है, राइट, फॉर दैट, फॉर converting the raw material to finished product, okay. Any expense which is used directly, which you can say that this is, you can see, for example, direct material is something which you can see in that finished product, okay, right. अब scooter है, scooter is being manufactured, then the engine of the scooter, the body of the scooter, you can see in the scooter, right. Those are all direct materials, okay, which has been used, which you can see directly in the product unit. Similarly, labor, okay, when you see the final labor, you know that there have been certain employees which have been, who have worked only in the scooter unit, okay, and they have helped in creation of scooter. That will be your direct labor, okay. So similarly, there can be some machines which are being used only for those scooters, okay. That will also be a direct expense as per this definition, okay. तो मैंने जो आपको बताया डायरेक्ट एंड इनडायरेक्ट, ओके, that doesn't apply only for labor. It applies for material, applies for labor, overhead. हर चीज में क्या डायरेक्ट है और क्या इनडायरेक्ट है वो आप ऐसे देखेंगे, ओके. एनीथिंग, so here the labor cost incurred for altering the construction, composition or condition of the product, ठीक है, directly related to the product, that is direct labor, ठीक है. नेक्स्ट आगे हमारा व्हाट इज इनडायरेक्ट लेबर, ओके. इनडायरेक्ट लेबर कैन नॉट बी आइडेंटिफाइड विद द प्रोडक्ट यूनिट, ठीक है, राइट. सो ये जो है, दीज आर सम असिस्टेंट्स एंड ऑल दैट, हु आर असिस्टेंट काइंड्स ऑफ वर्कर्स हु आर वर्किंग ऑन मेनी डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स, ठीक है. तो फॉर एग्जांपल सम पीपल दे आर कमिंग एंड, For example, let's say servicing department where they are washing all vehicles. They'll be washing all types of vehicles, right? In Maruti, they'll be washing Maruti 800 vehicles. They'll be washing all different makes of Maruti vehicles, correct? Right? So, इसीलिए that is indirect. इसको बोलते हैं indirect. Okay? Because there you will not be able to find the cost of the person who is doing the washing. ठीक है? उसने एक पर्टिकुलर कार के ऊपर उसका कितना सैलरी आपका लगा है वो आप नहीं कंप्यूट कर सकेंगे डायरेक्ट. ओके, यू हैव टू डू इट बेस्ड ऑन सम बेसिस, ऑलवेज ऑन सम बेसिस, व्हिच इज व्हाई इट इज इनडायरेक्ट. ठीक है, द मोमेंट यू कैन आइडेंटिफाई एन एक्सपेंस विद अ यूनिट इट बिकम्स डायरेक्ट. ठीक है, चलिए. ओके, एंड ऑल दीज असिस्टेंट्स वर्किंग इन डिपार्टमेंट्स लाइक परचेजिंग, स्टोर कीपिंग, टाइम ऑफिस. ठीक है, ये सारी चीजें जो भी ऑफिस वर्क जहां भी आ जाता है. ओके, wherever office work comes, now office people have no direct relation to manufacture or sales of one unit, correct? उनका उससे कोई लेना देना नहीं है, so it is fully indirect. Okay, and ठीक है, so यहाँ पे जो main point what we have to understand here is, ठीक है, यहाँ पे देखिए, it is paid to the workers who facilitate the production, यानी प्रोडक्शन में मदद कर रहे, प्रोडक्शन कर नहीं रहे. ठीक है, so paid to workers who facilitate the production rather than actually engaged in production. ठीक है, they are not actually engaged in production, they are just facilitating the production. ठीक है, ये सिर्फ पहचानने का तरीका है, but the thing is, main thing is like their work will not be fully into one kind of unit. ठीक है, वो ही मेन रहेगा, right? चलिए, so we have talked about direct and indirect labor. चलो little bit more. Okay, so direct labor जो है it is a part of prime cost. ठीक है, direct labor जो आता है it is a part of prime cost. So again for this if we go to cost sheet, ठीक है, okay, so cost sheet is something which we are going to learn in some other chapter. ठीक है, cost bookkeeping करके एक chapter है आपको, there you will be learning cost sheet. Actually officially it is there. Okay, so यार मैं सिर्फ आपको बता रहा हूँ, I have explained it a bit in the first chapter so that you get used to it. ठीक है, so it starts with, okay, cost of raw materials consumed. ठीक है, ये this raw material consumed, how do you calculate this raw material consumed? It is opening stock of raw material, RFL, right? Okay, opening stock of raw material plus purchase of raw material. Okay, okay, purchase of raw material, okay, minus closing stock of raw material. Okay, so opening stock, so you have got, we define three kinds of stocks in cost accounting. One is raw material which we purchase to manufacture something, that is one kind of stock. Stock क्यों डिफाइन होता है कि सी देयर इज अ पीरियड, लेट्स से मंथ. ठीक है, एक मंथ को लेके चलते हैं. एट द एंड ऑफ द मंथ इफ यू वांट टू फाइंड आउट द प्रॉफिट, और से लेट अस से क्वार्टर. ठीक है, क्वार्टरली पीएनएल तो आजकल हर जगह बनता है, राइट? तो क्वार्टरली यू वांट टू फाइंड द प्रॉफिट, so at the end of the quarter you will have to find out what is the closing stock. ठीक है, so only then you will be able to find out what you have sold, right? जो closing stock है we don't find profit out of it, correct? So इसीलिए stock taking is done, right? And you find the closing stock of raw material. ठीक है, तो ये this is one stage. Another stage is, okay, unfinished goods. जब आपका फैक्ट्री में goods are being, manufacturing process is going on constantly. ठीक है, it's going on continuously. Now suddenly at the end of the quarter if you want to, at the end of the quarter जब आपके books close हो रहे हैं, okay, is it essential that all production would be complete by then? No, right? कुछ some will be still in the factory, correct? Manufacturing चलते रहेगा, so that is called as work in progress. प्रोग्रेस और प्रोसेस दोनों बोला जाता है, वर्क इन प्रोसेस और वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस। ठीक है, ये है सेकेंड स्टेज। लास्ट स्टेज ऑफ स्टॉक जो देखा जाता है वो है कंप्लीटली फिनिश्ड गुड्स। ठीक है, फिनिश्ड इन ऑल रिस्पेक्ट, राइट, एंड वेयर यू हैव आपका ऑफिस एक्सपेंसेस, सेलिंग एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन एक्सपेंसेस, एवरीथिंग यू हैव अकाउंटेड फॉर। सो दीज गुड्स, इसमें सारे कॉस्ट लोड हो चुके और प्रोडक्शन भी पूरा हो चुका है इसका। ठीक है, so here the production is not yet complete, fine, and this is just the raw materials. There are three stages of stock which are recognized. Okay, so here if we see raw material consumed, start with that, and then okay, then you have add, okay, direct labor, that is your employee cost, which we are calling as employee cost. ठीक है, नॉर्मल कॉस्टिंग टर्मिनोलॉजी में लेबर वर्ड ज्यादा यूज होता है, बट बिकॉज इन द कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड दे प्रेफर्ड द वर्ड एम्प्लॉय कॉस्ट। ओके, तो इसीलिए एम्प्लॉय कॉस्ट बोलते हैं। इवन नाउ मेनी प्रॉब्लम्स एंड ऑल यू विल सी द नेम एज डायरेक्ट लेबर ओनली। ठीक है, सो मटेरियल प्लस लेबर प्लस डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंसेस। ठीक है, डायरेक्ट एक्सपेंसेस इज डायरेक्ट, कोई भी एक्सपेंस किया है आपने which is direct, you can identify with the products clearly। ठीक है, but it is neither material nor labor, तो उसको ग्रुप करके you put it as direct expenses। okay, you group it and put it as direct expenses। now these three things together, okay, where your raw material consumed, direct labor and direct expenses, okay, add these three together, that we call as prime cost। ठीक है, तो इसका जो नाम है बेसिकली इज प्राइम कॉस्ट। ओके, so on to this prime cost you add factory overheads। ठीक है, फैक्ट्री ओवरहेड्स, ओके, इसका और नाम होते हैं वर्क्स ओवरहेड्स। ओके, वर्क्स ऑन कॉस्ट या फैक्ट्री ऑन कॉस्ट। ठीक है, तो इट इज फैक्ट्री ऑन कॉस्ट बोलते हैं। ठीक है, सो this is also one name, or yeah, just call it as expenses, works expenses। ठीक है, all these are names of overheads। ठीक है, it can be factory or works, ये दो, these two are the names used, and it can be overheads, on cost, expenses। ठीक है, with any of this combination, factory or works। ठीक है, so here यहाँ पे जो ये स्टेज है ना प्राइम कॉस्ट के बाद, यहाँ पे आपका वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस का ओपनिंग और क्लोजिंग स्टॉक ऐड होता है। ओपनिंग स्टॉक ऑफ WIP, क्लोजिंग स्टॉक ऑफ WIP is work in progress। ठीक है, here of course you will add this, और क्लोजिंग स्टॉक you will minus। ठीक है, ये तीनों, these three things को you treat after prime cost, and what you get, ठीक है, इसको ओवरहेड्स में जो जो नाम हमने यूज किए हैं ना, उसी नाम से जस्ट कॉल इट एज कॉस्ट। सो फॉर एग्जांपल यू कैन से फैक्ट्री कॉस्ट, वर्क्स कॉस्ट। ठीक है, ऑन कॉस्ट वर्ड यूज नहीं होता है। ओके, सो जस्ट से फैक्ट्री कॉस्ट, एनी कॉस्ट यू कैन से। ठीक है, वर्क्स कॉस्ट। ठीक है, या एक और नाम है बेस्ट विच इज नॉर्मली यूज्ड इज कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन। ठीक है, so this is called as cost of production यहाँ तक। ठीक है, तो ये जो है ओके, तो चलिए, so here if I can remove this side। ठीक है, I'm just telling this, तो चलो धीरे धीरे अभी हम we are just starting, so we can just go through logically हम जाएंगे। ठीक है, so then यहाँ after prime cost we added what, factory overheads add हुआ, and then what did we add, it was opening stock of work in progress minus closing stock of work in progress, and we got factory cost, ठीक है, also called as cost of production, right? So यहाँ पे after factory cost stage, ठीक है, next में what you add is office expenses, ठीक है, it is office expenses also called as administration expenses, ठीक है, administration expenses, overheads, ये सारे नाम आप यूज कर सकते हैं, ठीक है, all these things are used, okay? तो ये सब हम करते हैं इसमें, and then you add in this, okay, plus office expenses, and then you add, okay, opening stock of finished goods and closing stock of finished goods, ठीक है, okay? और there's one more way to do this, ठीक है, यहाँ से जो है till here it is same, then थोड़ा अलग अलग certain different institutes follow, there are different ways, ठीक है? So one way is यहाँ पे just add ये, और इसको बोलते हैं, you just call it, okay, cost of finished goods manufactured, we call it as cost of finished goods manufactured, ठीक है, यहाँ डाल के, and then यहाँ पे what you can do is you do, okay, just take opening and closing stock of finished goods यहाँ, ठीक है, take opening stock of finished goods FG, let's say FG, ठीक है, minus closing stock of finished goods, right? तो ये हो जाता है आपका कॉस्ट ऑफ फिनिश्ड गुड्स सोल्ड बोला जाता है इसको, ठीक है, कॉस्ट ऑफ फिनिश्ड गुड्स सोल्ड, ठीक है. So here then you add, okay, here after this you can add your selling and distribution expenses, ठीक है, and you get cost of goods sold, ठीक है, यहाँ पे मिल जाता है आपको कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड, ओके. तो इसके जो है ना, देयर आर 2-3 वेरिएंट्स यहाँ से जो किया जाता है, जैसे इन सम केसेस आफ्टर यू गेट दिस कॉस्ट ऑफ फिनिश्ड गुड्स मैन्युफैक्चर्ड, ठीक है, ये कॉस्ट ऑफ फिनिश्ड गुड्स मैन्युफैक्चर्ड जो है ये दिखाया ही नहीं जाता इन सम केसेस, ओके. एंड व्हाट यू डू इज आफ्टर ऑफिस एक्सपेंसेस, ओके, यू जस्ट ऐड सेलिंग एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन एक्सपेंसेस आफ्टर ऑफिस एक्सपेंसेस, ठीक है, नहीं सॉरी, आप यहाँ पे इसको वी कॉल इट ऑफिस कॉस्ट, ठीक है, हियर आफ्टर ऑफिस एक्सपेंसेस वी कॉल इट व्हाट, ऑफिस कॉस्ट, ठीक है. अब ऑफिस कॉस्ट के बाद में जो है ना, इसको क्लब कर दिया जाता है, हियर ओपनिंग स्टॉक ऑफ फिनिश्ड गुड्स, क्लोजिंग स्टॉक ऑफ फिनिश्ड गुड्स एंड सेलिंग एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन एक्सपेंसेस, ठीक है, तीनों को एक साथ करके स्ट्रेट अवे यू गेट कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड. तो आप यहाँ पे क्या देखने को मिलेगा आपको यार, so normally you will find this, जो मैंने अभी बताया हूँ आपको, in problems and all you will find this, ठीक है. So here you will get this prime cost, first ये है हमारा prime cost, okay. So prime cost is the main raw material consumed and direct labor. फिर factory overheads और opening and closing stock of work in progress करने के बाद we got cost of production और factory cost, ठीक है, ये हुआ. And then you add office expenses only and get office cost, ठीक है, इसका नाम है office cost, ठीक है, this is office cost, okay. और इसको ये भी बोला जाता है कि cost of finished goods manufactured, क्यों, because still आपने closing stock of finished goods minus नहीं किए, so you don't, it is not cost of goods sold, it's cost of only what you have manufactured, what is there in the factory. तो इसीलिए इसको it's also called as cost of finished goods manufactured. Okay, just one moment, give me one. Okay, so right, so this is called office cost, or here we can call it as cost of finished goods manufactured. Well, nothing has been sold till now, it's only manufactured. So here, okay, so यहाँ पे what I told you is that add opening and closing stock of finished goods. यहाँ पे add these two. Okay, you can have one more section after this called cost of finished goods sold. Okay, and then you add selling and distribution expenses and say cost of goods sold. Okay, but normally this is done. Okay, तो वो भी है. So I will show you that also. ये तो I'm showing it whenever I have a chance. Okay, so you will get used to it. So we've already talked about this in the first chapter. We'll again talk about this later on. Okay, when we will do cost bookkeeping. So after office cost, this is what will happen normally. You add opening and closing stock of finished goods plus selling and distribution expenses, you get cost of goods. Okay, after this add profit, you get sales. Fine. Right, clear so far? So now, so indirect labor is a part of overhead. Okay, indirect labor is a part of overhead. In the first chapter, we talked about the fact that indirect material plus indirect labor plus indirect expenses is equals to overhead, right? So indirect labor cost is included in overhead. And direct labor cost is variable in nature. We know if you have little bit knowledge of cost accounting also, if you have studied it in BCom or somewhere earlier, you would know that direct material, direct labor is always variable cost. Okay, with each unit you will require same amount of direct labor, correct? So which is why it is variable in nature. Anything which is variable is controllable. Okay, anything which is variable is controllable by management. Fine. Okay, so so variable is controllable. What about the other indirect expenses which are not variable? Okay, to control that we use budgeting. Okay, you have one more chapter called budgeting and budgetary control, right? So because in indirect material, actually there is no direct relationship. Okay, so you cannot know, like uh, sorry, labor, not material. So you will not directly know that, for example, okay, if I say for 50 units, cost is, let me say the cost is 5,000. That is 100 per unit. Okay, cost is 5,000. You can directly say that if I say what will be for 100 units, okay, so it will be twice this, that is 10,000. Okay, per unit cost is 100. So this you can say directly, right? So which is why you can control. If it is, say it is 11,000, then you can say that something is wrong. You can directly investigate and find out. But relation for indirect things is not so direct like this. Okay, sometimes 50 units is 5,000. For 100 units, it can be 7,000. Okay, so which is why by seeing this figure, you cannot find out whether it is more or less. So you have to do budgeting. In budgeting process, you should find out for 100 units how much cost is required. We'll also consider what has been done in the previous period. So you will have a budgeted figure. Say you are saying that 7,500 is the budgeted figure. 7,500 is the budgeted figure. Then when it is 7,000, okay, then this time you can say, okay, we are under the limit, correct? Which is why for indirect labor, you should use always budgeting, okay? So that is it. So there are many things. I mean, if you see that way, you will feel there are many things, but there are only certain things you have to concentrate upon. Okay. One year we saw direct labor can be directly charged to product units. Okay. And indirect labor is included in overhead. Okay. Direct can be controlled by management easily. For indirect labor, you need to prepare labor budgets for controlling. Okay. These are the only points we have seen. Okay. Right. So now, right. So where did we start? If we see, okay, so here this is where we started your classification of labor cost. So what we were doing is steps for controlling and reducing labor cost. Okay, the steps for controlling and reducing labor cost. How to control labor cost? First thing is, so I had told you by saying that we should first write down our expenses, correct? Similarly, for bigger complex organizations, you have to first classify expenses and then only you can record. The classification of labor cost is the first point of controlling labor cost. Second is production planning, B. Okay, so production planning, okay, this is called as production planning and control. It is a separate chapter in your OMSM, where in detail various how you do production planning and control, those are all mentioned. This is mostly statistical, okay, and it is done using computers. Normally in real life companies and all, these are computerized things. Okay, so in production planning and control, what you do is for to getting control. So we are seeing points of control, correct? So how do you use production planning and control for controlling? Okay, so production planning, what are production planning activities? Okay, these things come under production planning, scheduling, routing, machine loading, etc. Okay, work study and all that. So these things here, your main thing, planning, scheduling. Scheduling is after one production, immediately after that is over, which production will happen next. There will be many things which will be in the queue. Okay, so everything will be scheduled. Okay, it's done again using computers. So basically you will have like hundreds of machineries operating. So whichever is vacant, then say for example, it has completed its current manufacturing now, any machinery. Okay, so then whichever things are waiting in the queue, the top priority one will go there. It will be scheduled like automatically. Okay, that's called scheduling. Okay, routing is which route will it follow. There can be one route which is high priority route. You will use that for high priority items because it doesn't break down. There can be some other routes also, which for the things which are not very urgent, you can use that. Okay, and there can be different products being manufactured, so their routes will be different. Okay, it's a very complex thing. So all this machine loading is just to make sure that all machines are evenly loaded. When you've got 3 or 4 machines, one production is done through 4 machines, then there should be no bottleneck. Okay, so that means, say you have, okay, this is one machine. Okay, this is machine 2 and this is machine 3. Okay, and so I'm explaining you what is loading year to year. Okay, with the capacity of this machine to produce is 500 units per day. Okay, and capacity of this machine says 400 units only, right? Then what will happen? 100 units 100 units stock will be there, right? Every day 100 units will remain, correct? So there'll be lots of stock which will pile up here. So which is why in machine loading means make sure that if capacity of this is 500, then this should also be 500. So either increase its power or add a supporting small machine with this so that its capacity increases to 500. Okay, that is called as machine loading. Okay, so all these things are done under production planning. Basically, all these are mechanized things. Okay, we've got work study, time and motion study. Okay, we'll be seeing these as we go ahead. Time and motion study, work study. Quite a bit of time we'll have to spend in that. Okay, so basically, time and motion study and all means the best way of doing the work. So if the way we are doing it currently, uh, it takes, so we are able to produce 8 units per day. If the method changes, okay, so if the method changes, then probably it's possible that we can do 10 or 12 units per day. Okay, it studies which is the best way of doing so. Okay, time and motion study and all that. So everything in production planning are, mechanized techniques of doing the work in a better way, right? As I said, most of these are done by computers. Okay, so that is production planning. So production planning is also used for labor cost, okay, for controlling labor cost, right? So you have to compare between standard and actual time, right? And if there is any variance, then you will get to know that, you're taking more time. So that is your production planning. Okay, these all points come under production planning, which is actual word is production planning and control. Okay, it's called as PPC. Okay, in group 2, you've got a big chapter, OMSM's biggest chapter dedicated to PPC. There you will have problems of all these scheduling, routing, machine loading problems are there. All these practical problems will be there in OMSM. Okay. So labor budget, next is labor budget. Okay. So, right. So budget and budgetary control are used for cost control and cost reduction, as we saw earlier, right? You have to do budgeting for indirect labor cost, right? So you have to do proper budgeting, and then you'll get a base for comparison, right? And similarly, like budgeting, labor standards, you can fix standard labor cost. Okay, how to fix standard cost you would have all heard of, all right? Standard is the scientifically predetermined cost for that work. Okay, how you will find out what is the best way? Using time and motion studies, that if you do this job this way, scientifically right way, then this is the time you should take. So that is standard time. Okay, right? So labor standards also help in labor control. Okay, next is what? Labor performance report. So this is reporting. Okay, so labor performance report, it shows efficiency and utilization of labor, how efficient they are and how well their utilization is taking place. Or some workers are working too much, some are not getting work, it's not evenly balanced. So that you will get to know by seeing the labor performance report. Okay, so this is there. And then it is incentive schemes, next point. Okay, all these are what things we can do to control labor cost. Okay, incentive schemes. So for better workers, we should give some incentives. Okay, so payment by results is what it is called. So payment by results is a very important part of your course in labor. So we have lots of problems in it. Okay, so you will understand this in detail. So it is basically for a worker who is working more or quicker. Okay, give him some bonus or something which will encourage him. Those are called as incentive schemes. Okay, and then this is last thing is labor cost accounting, last but not the least. Okay, so cost accounting system is very essential because it will identify what is direct, what is indirect. If others do not understand payroll, and the buck stops with the cost accounting department. They are at the top of the chain here. Okay, so they will identify, they'll solve any other people have any classification problem, they'll come to them. Okay, so they should be, the way cost accounting will work is they will of course use data from some other department also, okay, other departments, but they should be able to generate reports whenever required, because management will ask for reports from cost accounting. Okay, the others payroll also report, okay, but their report will be static. Cost accounting's report will be dynamic, based on a particular decision, okay, or any particular thing in mind. They can put costs for that and tell you. They will give you anything you ask, they will give you one report. Who? Payroll. Right? So cost accounting reports are dynamic. Right? So, but they maintain records, timekeeping, time booking, the same, the timekeeping department maintains it. Okay. Cost accounting department will also keep a copy. So they will get it from the timekeeping. Idle time, overtime, okay, all that impact of incentive schemes, okay, cost of labor turnover. So if people are leaving, what is the extra cost the organization has to bear by training new people, and new people will be slow initially, correct, for all that. So all that reports labor cost accounting does. So these points, these 7 points till G, whatever we have seen, okay, these are how we can control labor cost. Okay, fine. So if you have any question, we will I'll take it up. If not, then we will continue. So I am thinking of adding one cost accounting slot on Friday. Okay, I'll just check with Shivam sir if he has any slot there. If not, then same 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Yeah, Friday. Okay, I'll announce it. I'll just check with him once and announce it. On Friday, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Cost accounting. Now, next class 7:30 is marginal costing. Okay, it is for both your group 1 as well as group. Okay, then thank you. So if you want, Sanjana, you can stay on, or if you want to drop off and join after 5 minutes, you can do it.
Okay, sir.
Okay, then.